friends, and welcome back to my channel. Today I thought it'd be fun to do a bit of a plant updates video, and I actually wanted to go through and walk through my collection because I feel like I haven't done one of these walkthrough plant update videos in a little while, and I miss doing them because it's fun to just go around and show you what's going on, all of the great things that are happening. Sometimes we find unexpected surprises in there and just generally show you what's going on. I feel like my collection has gone a bit mental these past few months, and a lot has been going on with it, and so I figured it's time to show you. This summer has actually been one of the busiest summers I have had, in between plant swaps and work and wedding planning and training and just normal life. It has been so chaotic. I've really needed something to recenter myself, and I've been wanting to also get back into my love of art and drawing and try and do it in a mindful way. So I turned to one of my favorite resources, Skillshare, and I found the perfect class for myself on there. And Skillshare have actually partnered with me on this video, so I want to tell you a little bit more about them. Skillshare is the largest online learning community for creatives with thousands, yes, thousands of different courses led by industry experts. And the courses range from things in productivity and lifestyle, learning new skills, to more art and design. Skillshare can take your careers, hobbies, passions, skills, side hustles to the next level. They also have learning paths, which are curated sequential class collections, which can really help you master the skill or competency that you are working on through these multiple different classes, and you really get a deep understanding of the subject. The class I'm currently taking is on illustrated journaling, and it is 14 days of prompts, which has really helped me get into the illustrated journaling thing, and I really enjoyed taking time out of each day to kind of sit with my thoughts and feelings in a creative way, which is something that I always enjoy. Reconnecting with myself through learning is something I really wanted to make sure I did this summer because of all the chaos around me, and Skillshare has been the perfect place to make that happen. So don't wait. The first 500 people to use my link in the description down below will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. So click that link and get started today. Thank you so much, Skillshare, for sponsoring this video. Let's go walk around my chaotic plant collection. Starting off in the living room. This is actually the cleanest room in the house. But the first thing, y'all, can you freaking see this leaf? It is positively magnificent. So this is my Anthurium regale, obviously. Even though it has got some torn bits. I mean, I did that myself. If you didn't watch that in my plant tours video, I had that problem, but it also came out with a couple of holes, which I don't think were my fault. It's fine. It's still an absolutely incredible leaf. It is like 50 centimeters, I think, in size, which I thought its last leaf, the one down there, was huge. I mean, it is, but this, I cannot believe how big it has gotten just over the last couple of weeks. It is just thrilling, and like, look at that texture on the leaf. It is so soft, and I'm not sure that it is fully hardened off yet, but it's most of the way there, I think, at this point. I've also extended my Philodendron Majestic pole because it was going off the top of it, and I'm hoping that it properly roots into it and starts to size up even more. You can definitely see some sizing up in that time, but if I could get it to grow big, beautiful leaves, that would be awesome. I still haven't put the top cutting that I propagated with the proper big leaves back in. I will do that fairly soon because I feel like this one is ready at this point, but I don't know, it just makes me nervous. What if it doesn't stick? I think it definitely will, but at the same time, I don't know. Also, I should take this leaf off because it is yellowed. Doesn't need that in there. I feel like this one has gone through a lot of yellow leaves in the past couple weeks. I definitely took some off after I came back from my holiday, but overall, I think it is still looking pretty good, and the pole is extremely tall, basically to the ceiling. This zone over here is actually, I'm loving it so much more now. My bird of paradise that I recently repotted is pretty sure loving life. It's got this new leaf. There's a second one gone here. And I swear there's a third one. Yes, over here, which oh my goodness, this leaf is gonna be massive. So it is doing really well. I think now, especially, it is loving its new potting. It has been taking much more time to dry in between waterings, which is really important because I was watering this thing every other day for a little while. So I'm glad that this repot situation has worked wonders for it. I am still a little bit concerned about my philodendron Fat Boy though. It has been putting out new leaves, but they still haven't been giving me these like nice banana-y Fat Boy stems. They're still just, they're just like a little chubby. They're not fat, and I want them to be a bit fatter. So I don't know. I was hoping that moving them right next to this window where it's getting literally the most possible light it can get in my flat without being underneath a grow light, that it would do better and stop being so atoliated, but as of right now, it's just not, which is, again, it's fine. I'm trying to be as positive as possible on things that aren't going great, because that's just part and parcel of having plants. Things don't always go perfectly. Oh, hello. You gonna join me? Also, excuse my dishes. We're not gonna look at those. Things are doing well here, and I'm really glad that the reorganization of this zone has been overall really successful. Down here, my little begonia Hatikoa silver cuttings that I just have in some water are actually doing so well. They have perked up massively. I'll try and find a clip of right when I cut them off. They were so limp and floppy, and now they're doing so much better, and like there's new growth coming in on a lot of them, and I'm pretty sure there are roots down in there. Yeah, you can kind of see a couple just there. So I think it is doing so much better now, and hopefully these cuttings I can pot like just straight into semi-hydro. The bit behind it at the back, that I don't know if it ever will regrow, but I feel like it's possible. It does kind of look like there is the tiniest bit of new growth like right there. So maybe this section will regrow. I don't regret at all cutting these off. I think it was the best thing for the plant at the time because it was just going downhill so quickly. So hopefully we can get these back into semi-hydro soon, and I can give Lisa her cuttings as well. I decided to move my Peperomia Pink Lady to this spot by my other kind of main Peperomias, because I think it was getting bleached by the light in the old spot. And that light isn't very bright, but you can just see how much the pink has gone away in the time that it's been there. So I'm hoping that in this spot with not as much light, you can see it's not particularly bright in this zone. Also, excuse the clock that's just sitting here, it's broken. But hopefully with less light, some of the pink will come back out and the leaves will stop being quite as bleached. On the top of the cabinet, my Thanksgiving cactus up there, you can see there is bits of new growth coming in on some spots. It's nothing that crazy at the minute, but I found that these ones take a little while once they're new in your collection. I got this around Christmas time, and it has taken a little while just to get used to my collection and start actually doing something. So hopefully by the end of this growing season it will have gotten a good chunk bigger. I don't need it to. I'm perfectly fine with it being a bit of a smaller one, but I do like it when my plants grow. And then into the cabinet, which is a little bit cabinet of chaos at the minute. I feel like it has just gotten so full. I kind of dislike how full it's gotten. I mean, it's great because it means my plants are growing, but it's just quite difficult to handle all of the things that are going on, and I can't see everything, unfortunately, and it makes it harder to take care of my plants and make sure that they're growing well and they're happy and they're watered enough. This Monstera, ooh, I think it was like a Monstera M50 or something, really random, has like really taken off in the time I've had it. It is a really, really cool one, and I think it's one that's quite rare still, so hopefully I can get it growing well. I think I'll probably need to put this one on a pole though in order to get the leaves to keep growing and grow bigger, I guess. I don't know if they fenestrate or not because I've never had this plant before, but hopefully they do something cool. Speaking of fenestrations though, behind it, my Monstera obliqua Peru is doing so well. Like, it's really hard to even show these leaves because they're so skeletonly. There's not much to them, but it is doing phenomenally, which is great. I don't think it's quite sticking to the pole yet, but I mean, it is sizing up because this leaf is, it's so hard to show you. It is much bigger than previous leaves, even though it doesn't have much to it, but I kind of like that about this. And I know that's why people like the obliqua specifically, because they look so surreal and warbled almost. I know that's not a word, but it just feels how this leaf feels. It feels warbled to me, and I like it. So it turns out that the 3 little tiny plants I had put into different substrates. I've got one in soil, I've got one in tree fern fiber, and I've got one in semi-hydro. Turns out they're actually some sort of philodendron. I thought they were anthuriums, but to me this looks like a Florida green. It's not got any signs of being a Florida beauty with the variegation or a Florida ghost being lighter, but it has just developed such cool leaves. I don't know how I feel about the Florida green, if I want to keep it, but it has been really interesting watching the leaves go from something like this down here, very plain leaf shape, to such fun loby leaves here. Also, I'm pretty sure, and yes, my Alocasia Jacqueline in there is putting out a new leaf. And it does look like it is slightly bigger than previous ones, which is exciting. The previous leaf is there. And I think this one that's coming out will size up once it has completely unfurled, but that has been since I have moved it into this cabinet, because before it was in the pond box and it didn't really do much in there at all. So the fact that it is growing now that I've got it in the cabinet makes me feel like I have done the right thing with it. My Alocasia Bisma, on the other hand, is kind of a hot mess. This leaf, one, it's had pests, which kind of sucked. 2, it's feeling super dehydrated, even though the pot said it was fine. I have recently refilled it with water, but you can see there is some new growth, so there is hope for this one, but it's just not been what I've wanted it to be, which is a shame because I really liked the Alocasia Bisma, and if I could get it to grow well, I would like that. Down the bottom, things are not quite as stressful, but down the bottom, they still are. Oh, hello, Cleo. What you doing here? You doing all right? Let's not eat my plants, thank you. The one she was just admiring is my Anthurium SP Lemon, which is doing phenomenally. Like, look at these leaves. They're just increasing in size every single time, and I've got 2 cuttings in here and they're both just doing quite well. The leaves are just so cool. They've got like abs, which is really fun, and normally I'm not into these sort of blobbly Anthurium leaves, but I think because this one is the more silver color, I can just really get behind this and quite like it. But again, there's just so many things down here that I can't even see because they're behind other things. And most of them are actually variegated alocasias at this point, which is quite nice. I love my variegated alocasias. if I can get this one out though. This one is my variegated Gagiana that was doing really well and putting out leaves with quite a lot of green on them, but then all of a sudden it has gone full white again, which I really don't understand. Like, it was doing so well with the newest leaves. So if anyone has any sort of tips for me on this one, they would be much appreciated. I just, why is it doing this now? Because it's not like it's getting incredible light. It is kind of underneath a bunch of other plants in there. So it's not getting anything spectacular light-wise, but it's just going full white again, which is kind of annoying and stressful, but I still have confidence with this plant because obviously there's still green on it, so it's, as long as all of these green leaves don't die off and it maybe produces more with green on them, hopefully it'll be fine. But for now, I am a little bit worried about it. Speaking of variegated alocasias that I'm struggling with, my Frydek, which has been producing only white leaves, has done it once again, and the leaves it had on it are just dying off as well. I don't know if it's because I didn't water it enough, but I should probably take those off. I'll do that later when I have two hands. But yeah, it's just struggling, and it kind of annoys me, but who knows, maybe at some point I will be able to get a hold of the sort of variegated alocasias, but for now I think I'm having some issues with them, and that is okay. I just need to remind myself that it is fine. My Regal Shield is doing so well. I am obsessed with this leaf. It doesn't look like it has a second one coming in quite yet, but I have time. I'm hoping that the next leaf is bigger than this first one, and I do believe it will. I think just being in the cabinet has been really phenomenal for it. I know it has been great for my Portadora in front. This one just keeps producing bigger and bigger leaves. And again, this one had pests too. Not surprised because it's literally the bane of Claire's existence, this one having pests. But it had some thrips on it, and I think I have dealt with them okay. I've got my predatory mites in there, and I think that has helped, and I've been squishing any sort of big ones that I've seen. But the new leaves keep coming in bigger and better than the ones before, so this one, non-variegated alocasias, I feel like I can get behind at the minute and are doing really well. This is my Reversa, which has put out a huge leaf. My Syndapsis Jade Satin variegated has put out a new leaf as well, but this one is not very variegated. It's kind of only got this one splash at the top, which is, I mean, I don't want it to lose its variegation completely because the variegation it has on these other leaves is something to be desired. And so I'm hoping that next leaves will come in with even more, but for the time being, just gotta make sure it's working with the ones it has, and it is getting lots of grow light. It's really close to the grow light, and hopefully it'll just keep growing really well. This one has been a particularly slow one for me. I'm not expecting it to put out a new leaf anytime soon. I know it's kind of looking like it is back there, but still not quite. It's just taking its time, and that's fine, and I feel like that's good. For this cabinet being so overgrown, having some plants that are going a bit slower is really, really useful. Welcome to the real chaos, which is the bedroom. It feels like so much is going on at the minute, and things have grown incredibly. Like my philodendron micans, which I swear when I got it wasn't even trailing down at all, and now it is all the way down here. It does look a little bit scraggly at this point. I should probably chop and prop it to get it to grow a bit fuller, but they go down so far, these little vines. I love it. And same with my Syndapsis. I've got a couple of them doing some long vines. Probably going to chop them fairly soon. I think this is the Tattoo, I think, because of those like darker spots in there. And this is the Platinum, but I mean, just based off of how close they are to my pillow, I think I do need to chop them a bit. I also have found that since putting the big Scindapsus up here, when I water it, I do get dripped on in the night through guttation, just where once I've watered the plant, the leaves absorb the water and then they put out little drops, and I will notice that when I'm sleeping they will drip on me, which isn't ideal, but it's fine really, I guess. It doesn't really matter. It's just something that happens. This zone here has really overgrown at this point, which I mean I kind of love. I love the way it looks, but it is starting to encroach on my desk space quite a lot. I'm getting like less and less space between me and the wall, which I mean it's fine. I don't mind, but yeah, it's just I'm just fully surrounded by plants while I'm working, and it's getting almost a little bit claustrophobic. I feel like my Philodendron Splendid is doing splendidly though. Like the size on its sort of newest leaves, while it's not huge, I know, but since I've been growing it from such small cuttings, I will take this sort of size leaves. It is getting bigger, which I love, and my Glorious, unsurprisingly, is putting out new leaves always. And from where I cut, which was just there's definitely some new growth coming in there, and even the node below that growth point looks like it might put out growth. I would prefer if new growth came from there instead of at the top, just because it'll take longer to reach the top of the pole, and I don't have that much space for this plant. So hopefully one of these two sprouts, but if I had to pick, I would definitely pick the bottom one down there. Also, I should note that my Rhaphidophora was not a fan of the treatment that I did on it a few weeks back. You can see there's like sort of abrasive marks from me using my sponge, and I think part of that is because it was dehydrated when I used it, so I was probably a little bit too rough with some of the leaves, but a lot of them have chunks of damage on them that occurred because of the treatment, which is really annoying. Oh my goodness, is that a mealybug? I think it might just be dust. One sec. Thank goodness, not a mealybug, just a bit of fluff or something. But yeah, I'm really annoyed at myself for the damage on these leaves, but there's quite a lot of them that have this sort of damage on them. So I think I am just gonna have to cut those off at some point, and then I'll have to take top cuttings and put them back into the bottom of the pot, which is fine. It's so full from the bottom right now. It's a bit of a shame to kind of lose a little bit of that by cutting off these leaves. But in better news, I haven't seen thrips since then. So I mean, I guess I'd rather some damage and no thrips than thrips which would cause more damage and like worse health for my plant in general. Also, it is growing at the top there, which is super exciting. So hopefully it'll very soon be able to trail along this top bit. My Hoya polyneura here has been growing lots of new leaves lately. I think these two are new, those two are new, these two are new. The ones here, like it has just been popping off growth-wise, which has been very exciting for me. I feel like we're finally getting back on track with the polyneura, because for so long it was properly struggling, so feeling really good about that. But it is definitely contributing to the slight claustrophobia of this zone, and I mean, it's hard to get back down in there where my plants are to water them, unfortunately. But my Warwickwianum has some new growth back there, so I'm gonna get a new Warwickwianum leaf, which is amazing because this one hasn't done anything for such a long time and its leaves are a little bit struggly, but I think since moving it to this spot it has liked it quite a bit because there's the grow light there. So hopefully that new leaf, which you can't even see, that new leaf back there will be a nice, beautiful, big one. But It'll probably take its time because my Warwickwianum is probably one of my slowest growing anthuriums I have in my collection. My Hoya croniana, I know I just spoke about this in my June favorites video, but it has really popped off in the last couple of days actually. So many of the peduncles have burst into bloom. So you can see I've got 3 open ones here, 2 closed ones, and then further down that same stem, there's more open ones, there's more along here, up there, even at the top, there's an open one, and I am just thoroughly loving getting to watch these bloom so frequently, and it smells amazing, and every day I just like to come and see what new peduncles have bloomed, and it's just, it makes my day having these little Hoya flowers to look at. They're just so pretty. The one annoying thing though is when they dry out and come off, they just fall down. And so down here, I almost always have some Hoya flowers. Pretty much every morning at this point, I'm having to clean up Hoya flowers from this zone, which, I mean, I'll take it to have beautiful blooms, but it is ever so slightly annoying. Another one that's blooming is my mistletoe cactus. You can see there's like a couple little white bubbles in there, and those are the little flowers, which are kind of adorable. I don't quite understand them fully, but they are very cute. Also, this one has grown a lot in length recently, just like these. It just keeps growing, which, I mean, I think when I got it, it was like that length, and so it has not quite doubled all the way around, but grown a whole chunk in that time. Also, my Rhaphidophora decursiva just put out this new leaf, which has 4 lobes, which is super exciting. I am really glad that it is feeling happier now since I put it on the moss pole back there, and I just know that it is going to start growing so fast very soon, and I probably will need to extend that pole before I know it, actually. Ooh, I just noticed a new leaf on my Mitchellisiana as well, which is exciting. This one also just chill and doing fun. Oh, there's another new leaf down there as well. That one's smaller, but just doing so well in there. Happy as a clam. My variegated lipstick plant got too big for the Akerbar, so I had to pull it out to put onto my shelf here. And I mean, it seems to be liking the shelf so far. It was not very long ago that I put it out here, so it's probably gonna take a minute yet, but it is still growing bits of new growth, which is so happy. Just look at those leaves, they're so beautiful. And the Hoya retusa above it has tendrilled quite a lot lately. There's lots of these coming off of it. I think I'm going to chop it. I don't think I'll propagate them just because the tendrils are kind of annoying to propagate, but I do need to chop it in hopes that it becomes bushier instead of growing these tendrils, because it's got like 2 here, at least 2 in the back there, and then just kind of go everywhere. In the Akerbar, my, I think this is a Pearls and Jade slash Leopard Pothos. I'm not quite sure of that ID, but I've put 2 in this pot that look fairly similar to the Enjoy. They're not quite the same, but anyways, it is getting too big for the space. You can see that it's just pushing up against the like plexi, and it's just really filling up the space a little bit too much, so I should probably take this one out as well. And on this side, I'm not gonna go in it because there's kind of no point. My little Stephania erecta back there has done F all, which is really unfortunate. I was hoping that I could get it to bloom again this year. Not bloom, but like sprout. But it has just done absolutely nothing. So maybe 2024 is an off year for it, and we can just try it again next year instead. And then lastly, we have the Office, which is also just overgrowing so much right now. The first thing that's coming to my mind is my Dioscorea Discolor, which, if we go down to the bottom, one, this leaf is phenomenal, but then I've basically trained it to climb up the side of the shelf, and it just keeps going, and the leaves are so big and beautiful on this one. It is just so much fun to watch grow, and it's also started attaching itself to this little Senecio here, so they're just permanently gonna be best friends. And I mean, I can't move this one at this point just because it's essentially stuck in this location, but I think it is happy here. You can see little bits of new growth coming in on it too, and it makes me happy that it's finally doing well and finally actually starting to cling on to something and grow the way it's intended. And it's done this like this, I swear from like there up in maybe a couple weeks time. It's just been really speedy now that it's gotten going. I've filled this top shelf with what feels like a ton of Hoyas. I think I've put them all here because they like the light, and it has been working. Like my Hoya obovata has got some new growth on it and isn't getting too leggy. My Carnosa in the back up there is doing phenomenally. Latifolia, I think there's a Latifolia, chunky and putting out new growth as well. Just really filling out, which is nice because I mean, that's what I want from my Hoyas. I do need to cut this tendril off because it's just kind of going in the middle of nowhere, but just very full and busy. And these are the plants that I can also tend to not water as much because they're in the office. I'm able to not water them constantly, and these Hoyas don't seem to be too mad about it. I've also got some stuff in semi-hydro, which doesn't need water as frequently either. So, doing really well. My Philodendron El Choco Red, I have been keeping an eye on it since I treated it for spider mites the other week, and I haven't really seen any since, so that's good. I think it is also, is it putting out new growth? Not quite yet, but hopefully the spider mites didn't do too much damage. It doesn't look like there's damage on the leaves at all, so I'm hoping it's fine. My Schismatoglottis Silver Borneo is doing phenomenally. The new leaves that it's putting out are huge, and I think it's got a new one that's just unfurled or is unfurling as we speak there, and it's just gotten massive. And even the bits down at the bottom are starting to grow new leaves. So it's just really spreading out and coming into its own here. My dragon scale is also big and beautiful as ever. And the Alocasia cuprea, also just enjoying the super shiny life. And like I said, I am keeping my eye on all of these just to make sure that they don't have spider mites. But I have cleaned them all very recently, so I think I should be in the clear with those. Just had to turn the lights off for a second so y'all can see what I'm seeing. My Monstera dubia, the big one, that I shared this with Lisa at some point. Basically, we decided once it starts growing and it's actually gotten some new leaves, then we will divide it because it is massive. But for the longest time, seeing as I got the Bristol swap, which was months and months ago, it did not put out any new leaves, but it's starting to put out new growth, which I'm feeling really happy about, because like I said, I was worried that it was just never gonna grow at this point. And yes, I still have it wrapped in plastic. I think it's because the poles in here do not get watered near enough. I basically did this for holiday and I've decided I'm never going to take it off because I don't see this pole that often in the office. It doesn't really bother Joe that it's in the background, so I'd rather it just be here and stay moist than to dry out and look probably slightly better. My Begonia Arabia Sunset is still doing phenomenally. When those lights are on, you can tell they are really close to these leaves and they're still loving it. It still looks like it's reaching out for it, which is great. Alocasia branchifolia Pink Passion there has decided it wants to come out and play and be close to these grow lights as well, which is good. This plant is massive and it has gotten quite leggy, even though it only has 2 leaves. So I'm hoping that I could get it to be slightly less sprawly at some point, but for now, oh, it's got 3 leaves, I lied. It's just how sprawly it is. Hopefully I can get it to grow slightly less sprawly down the line, but for now, it's fine doing its thing here. And then we can go into the cactus cabinet. I haven't taken y'all in here in a while, and I also haven't watered these plants in a while. I should probably water them. I didn't do them at the beginning of July when I meant to. Whoops. But things are still growing. You can see my blue myrtillo here. Those little like light green spots and those lines. That's from where it has grown recently. So 1, 2, 3, 4 of the 5 of its little branches have started to grow. My booby cactus is also growing at the minute, giving me some more little boobies on there. Most of these things in here I really don't notice growing at all just because they're so ditty. I think on my golden barrel there, you see that orange spot? I'm pretty sure this one actually had thrips, which is really, really weird. I've never had any of my cacti have thrips before, but I think that orange spot is damaged. There's more of those orange spots throughout it, and I have treated it at this point, so I'm hoping that there's no more. It was just really weird. I didn't see any adult thrips on it, but I think I saw some babies. I'm not sure. I did give it a really good rinsing and I think some alcohol spray, but hopefully they're gone now, and it doesn't look like it spread to any of the others in this section, so that's fine, I guess. I do have a tiny bit of sad news back there. My Euphorbia Lacti Ghost has just rotted its way up. I still could potentially save it at this point, but I'm just not sure. I think I probably should have not put it back in the cabinet to root. I think that was part of the issue because I put it in here and left it, and I probably didn't water it enough for it to root properly, and so it's just not rooted, which is bad. So I think that is my fault, and I am really sad about it, but I don't know, it's bad because it's a wishlist plant and I really, really, really liked it, but I think I'm okay at the same time. I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed in myself. I think my other variegated Euphorbia might be growing. This one I feel like is a lot harder to tell whether or not it's growing, but I feel like when I got it originally, it was more on the yellow side, so maybe all of this white part at the top is new. I should really go back and look at how big it was when I got it and kind of compare, because otherwise it's really too hard to tell. But everything else in here is doing pretty well. It looks happy and healthy, if not a little bit dehydrated, but that is just something that I need to do, and I'll do it eventually. I should probably do it after I've filmed this video because it needs it. Also, this does look a little bit exfoliated, so maybe it's not as happy as it could be, but at least it's growing. I'd rather it grow than not grow. So that is it. That is everything that is going on in my plant collection at the minute. It is quite a lot. I feel like it's great that things are growing, but I am feeling ever so slightly overwhelmed with the amount of new growth, and I feel like there's simultaneously like not that much for me to do, but things are getting too big at the same time, so it's like kind of getting a little chaotic in my brain. I think I need to do another declutter kind of soon and really think like long and hard about what plants I'm loving at the minute and what plants I would love to keep growing and keep getting bigger in my collection, as opposed to I'm just watching kind of either sit and do nothing, so I'm not giving the best home, or I'm watching them grow and then feeling like it's too much and I might need to cut them back. So that's how I'm feeling at the minute. But in general, fairly pleased with what's going on and happy that a lot of things are growing really well. And though I've got some things that I need to work on, I can do that another time. So thank you all so much for watching. Also a huge thank you to Billy, Caitlin, and Chelsea for joining in my Good Growing fam over on Patreon. If anyone else is interested in joining, it is £3 a month, and you get everything for that price, which is bonus content, live chats, voting power, access to the Discord server, just a grand old time. So it's there if you want it, but absolutely no pressure if this is not your thing. So yeah. Anyways, I am going to go now. I hope you did enjoy this video. Thanks again for watching. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up down below and leave a comment on other houseplanty things you'd like me to talk about in the future, and subscribe for more. I will see you in the next one. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Don't forget to keep growing. Bye!